An exact description was... We have a bulletin just received. According to a report not yet confirmed, a beast of sighted lurking in the hills due northeast of town. City officials have called for military help. Planes and troops are expected to arrive within the next 2 hours. Meanwhile...
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're watching PNT. I'm your host, patiently fulfilling your expectations of me. Up front this week, according to an article by the Huffington Post and numerous sources online, one California couple became unwitting victims of one man's peculiar taste in activities. But before we go any further, PNT has to warn our viewers that the following footage may be disturbing to some. I know it certainly is to me. Salinas resident Sylvia Dungan and her husband received a 5 a.m. notification of movement from their recently installed home security system, and upon review of the camera footage, were shocked to discover that a stranger had been licking their doorbell for over 3 hours before going on to urinate on one of the Dungan's bushes, before entering several other adjoining lawns. The Dungans, who were not at home at the time of the incident, were made especially uneasy by the fact that their 3 children were in the house at the time and did not wake up during the course of the nearly 3-hour incident. Due to the clarity of the footage, Salinas police were quickly able to identify the Larcenous Licker as one Roberto Daniel Arroyo, and are currently attempting to track down and arrest the 33-year-old on charges of prowling, theft, and violation of probation. After the shock had worn off, the Dungans seemed to be taking the terrifying tongue-lashing in stride, with Sylvia stating that she can kind of laugh about it afterwards because technically he didn't do anything. However, she did caution others that this just kind of reinforces how important it is to have security within your home. For PNT's part, while we can certainly sympathize with the Dungans' horrified reaction, we can't help but wonder if perhaps they'd been inadvertently cleaning their doorbell with shimmer. Too obscure? From deviant doorbells to the search for extraterrestrial life, our next story takes us across the depths of space to Barnard's star. Astronomers from Villanova University announced recently that primitive life could exist on the newly discovered superplanet Barnard's star B, a frozen world more than 3 times the size of Earth. Announcing their findings at the 233rd meeting of the American Astronomical Society, the astronomers posited that Barnard's star B could have a hot liquid core of iron and nickel, similar to Earth's, which could support life zones such as those that exist in deep ocean geothermal vents. Noting similar conditions on Jupiter's moon Europa, the project scientists feel this strongly points to the possible existence of liquid oceans underneath the frozen surface, providing acceptable conditions for life to evolve beyond the protozoan stage. With Barnard's star B at a distance of almost 6 light-years, it is unlikely that we will be able to physically confirm the team's findings for quite some time, but scientists hope that more advanced telescopes could shed some light on the mysteries of Barnard's star B at some point in the future. Putting the matter into perspective, astrophysicist Scott Engel was quoted as saying, "Barnard's star is about twice as old as the Sun, about 9 billion years, as compared to our 4.6 billion. The universe has been producing Earth-sized planets for far longer than we, or even the Sun itself, have existed." For the final part of our weekly Roundup of the Weird, PNT is pleased to present another intriguing report drawn from the MUFON database. The footage, taken January 10th of this year, appears to show 2 brilliant red orbs moving over the suburbs of Redwood City, California. Let's have a look at the footage. So what were the objects caught on tape by one witness hovering and moving over Redwood City, California? Let's run down the possibilities. Let's just skip birds, clouds, stars, and most astronomical phenomena. These can be easily ruled out due to the luminosity, altitude, and motions of the object seen in the footage. Lighted balloons, including Chinese lanterns or luminaria, could easily replicate both the luminosity and color of the objects, but would likely prove difficult to control, being subject to the wind currents present at higher altitudes, and would be unable to duplicate the motion seen here. Even were one to attempt to hoax this event using two large lighted balloons, they would need to be tethered to vehicles, who by driving about in an open area and reeling in and out, the cable could conceivably cause the motions in the video. This seems rather extreme measures to go through in order to hoax an event, however. It would be far easier for anyone with a passing knowledge of video editing to make it using CGI. Even if driving and reeling could be coordinated between two hoaxers, coordination with a third individual to film the event would be necessary, and the balloons would still be subject to air currents, and therefore prove to be too unreliable to reasonably deal with. Up next would be flares, which would also match the luminosity and color of the lights, but fails to explain the individual motions of the objects. Flares fall down, not upwards, and certainly do not change course while rising. Fireworks would suffer the same limitations. As with the other possibilities, drones could easily replicate both brightness and color, and also duplicate the motions as well. Drones are easily capable of hovering in place and sudden movements, and even given the need for coordination between two drone pilots, they remain the most logical and practical explanation for the sightings so far. But this cannot be conclusively confirmed, as the witness was too far away for any noise from the drones to have been audible. We would be remiss in our investigation if we did not cover the other logical remaining possibilities, commercial or military aircraft. As we have covered in previous episodes, viewing this common event from an oblique angle to the flight path produces a startling visual anomaly, whereby the lights of the aircraft appear to hover in place as the plane moves towards the viewer, only to change to the familiar blinking lights as the plane completes a banking turn. While similar to this optical illusion, on further review of the tape, P&T believes this not to be the cause of the lights. What struck us as notable was the end of the footage, where the lower of the two lights changes direction abruptly and begins to accelerate upwards towards the other craft. This runs contrary to standard commercial takeoff procedures, being more akin to that of two military fighter jets in a dogfight. Most known military jets, however, lack the ability to hover in place and abruptly change direction and altitude. Even were two pilots flying one of these craft, such as the familiar Harrier VTOL, there would be tremendous noise on the audio track of the event, even from that distance. And this would still raise the question of why two pilots would be performing acrobatic stunts over Redwood City. If they weren't authorized for such a flight, they're likely to be severely disciplined. If they were authorized, why, and for what reason? As usual, P&T searched for both civilian and military installations near the event, finding plenty of both in close proximity to the sighting area. With this much air traffic, obviously we cannot rule this out as being the cause of these lights. But what about the possibility that none of these explanations are correct? What if these are not drones or aircraft? Is it possible that these are craft not of this world or dimension? That either extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional beings are moving over us, observing, or perhaps just playing with the natives, showing off their advanced technology in order to impress or to instill fear in the primitive population of a small backwater planet. Could these incidences be an undiscovered but natural phenomenon unique to our planet? Is it possible that beings not unlike ourselves exist alongside us, only to be removed from our world by the thinnest of membranes? Is it possible that our own future selves are peering back through the wall of time and space, hoping to find out more about their distant ancestors? We may never know for certain, but we do know that only by embracing the endless possibilities of the universe that we will ever begin to understand our place in it. But whether the objects caught on tape playfully moving over the city of Redwood, California Thursday were drones, misidentified aircraft, or something else entirely, we'll leave up to our faithful viewers to decide. Sound off in the comments section below with your thoughts. That's it for this time, faithful viewers. Be sure to click like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified when PNT presents your next portion of the Paranormal. I'm your host, reminding you to keep an open mind, because a closed one shuts out the truth.